I'm just curious, do you see the screen that says reducing work comp claims in the home health industry?
Yes.
Okay, that's just the screen I want to show for a split second,
Great.
and then I'll stop sharing. See, it's recording, so I don't feel like sharing goofy stories right now. But it can be edited though.
Yeah, I can always pause it.
And then again, it's being recorded, it can be watched. Great. Well, hello, my name is Dennis Powers. I'm with InZone Insurance. Some of you might know me from my former agency, Lamb Little and Company. I was one of the owners of Lamb Little. We sold to InZone 3 years ago, December 2021. Lamb Little, I was at from 2009 until we sold in 2021. Early in my career at Lamb Little, I met my first Home Instead franchise at a work comp seminar that I did. And from there, it changed the trajectory of my how I approach sales. And it introduced me to a whole new universe I wasn't aware of, which is in-home companion and personal care. So currently, I work with around 100 offices all over the country and have been since 2010. And I've been fortunate to work with the association to do, I think this is either our fourth or fifth presentation. I'm sharing a screen. This is, you can see what it says, post-offer medical questionnaires to reduce workers' comp claims. This is a presentation that we did internally here. It's on our website. If you were to go on inzoneins.com on the blog section, you'll find me interviewing a home instead near Charlotte, North Carolina, about post-offer medical questionnaires and how to identify pre-existing conditions on people you've already made a job offer to. This is something you can watch on your own time. It's 20 minutes long. If you like what you see on there, I have the forms. This and then the presentation we're about to do, these are ideas to prevent work comp claims from uh, happening in the first place, or if the injury does occur, the purpose of this presentation is to explain how nurse triage works. I'm going to stop sharing that screen. And I want to introduce Monica from Genex. Um, I have been a big fan of nurse triage for a long time. Let me explain it the way I think it is, and then I am positive I will be corrected about what it really is. Um, so nurse triage is something I heard about maybe 10 years ago, and not a lot of insurance carriers were using it, but we partnered up with a company called Coventry a long time ago. And essentially, the way we set it up was we just made the connection between our client and Coventry, same thing that we would do with Genex. Genex purchased Coventry, if I'm not mistaken, a few years ago. The idea of nurse triage is rather than the knee-jerk reaction of one of your caregivers, office workers being injured, and then automatically going to a clinic or going to an emergency room, what about calling and speaking to a nurse? in the presence of one of your, it could be you, could be one of your employees. And the idea is not every injury necessarily means that someone needs to go to the emergency room or the a clinic. They might be able to self-treat, maybe some ibuprofen, maybe some ice, and they talk to the nurse, and then hopefully, if the data is the way I think it is, Monica, for every 10 cases that come through, we're hoping that three or four of them don't turn into full-blown work comp claims. You're able to talk to the injured worker, explain how to self-treat, and then, if a follow-up is necessary, the nurse will follow up with the employee, and then maybe three or four of those 10 calls don't result in you as the employer reporting a workers' comp claim. Because once you get someone into a clinic, they're going to do an X-ray and then they're going to order probably 8 visits of physical therapy. If you send them to the emergency room, you're going to have a $3,000 bill. Same thing, X-ray and then a referral to someone else. So I'm going to let Monica and her team explain what Genex can offer the home instead franchisees. If you're interested in learning more about the what we've negotiated with Genex offline, feel free to reach out to me. You have my information through the association. Lastly, I want to say I will be in Denver in April. I hope to meet as many of you as possible at that event. So I'm going to turn it over to Monica. Thanks for letting me do the brief introduction, and I'll hand it on over to you.
Thanks, Dennis. Well, great to talk with all the participants, and appreciate you sharing that. We're going to have to hire you. You did that really well. So I think, I want to share just a brief overview of our program. Genex Clinical Care Connect. We've been in business for 17 years, and we are specifically focused on the work comp industry. And so sorry, trying to share with you. Dennis, are you able to view?
I don't see it, Monica.
Do you see the green share button at the bottom of your screen?
Yeah, I clicked that and it disappeared.
So when I click on it, Monica, a bunch of different boxes pop up, and I click on the one that is the screen I'm trying to share. Here we go. This is exciting. Like I say, it's tingling. It's working.
How about Genex Clinical Care 24? Can you see now?
Yes.
Excellent. So 17 years in the business with a focus on the work comp space. Our nurses are available, and this is a true statement, that an injured worker is going to be concerned, and really that next level of insight from a nurse is very helpful in their decision about where should they go for treatment, if treatment is needed, a little extra comfort whenever that injury happens, especially if somebody's not on site at a work location or sort of with immediate access. Having an 800 number that they can pick up and call and speak to a nurse is a really great benefit in the space. And after doing this for so many years with a wide variety of clients, we manage customers that are carrier level. They might be a large employer, small employer. So it sort of fits all pathways. But with the experience in this over the years and being able to report out metrics at the end, lets us show the benefit of having this in place. It also cuts down on the number of cases, as Dennis mentioned, that turn into an actual work comp claim whenever you can give someone the ability to self-treat and sort of monitor their circumstance, and really also have the comfort of being able to call back if they have a question or something extends beyond the time frame that they are anticipating. It's a great thing for employers because it really helps build trust with that employee as well. And it's very easy to implement. So just to talk a little bit about the pathways that a call could take if it comes into the nurse line. So you may be referred to an emergency room. Our recommendation up front is if you've got a serious injury of a nature where you've got continuous bleeding that doesn't stop, or someone injures or fractures or breaks a bone and you've got a protrusion, you obviously don't want those things to be called into the nurse. Things that are clearly something that should go to a 911, or someone should go straight to the emergency department. We don't want to prolong the person's getting treatment. So there are occasions when people will call in, and we'll have a small percentage that do need to go to an emergency room. But again, we want to make this available to people to use in the right circumstances. Typically, the other options that may occur would be a physician or a clinic visit. This can be someone local. We also have the ability to put in place, if you as an employer have got some relationships with local physicians that have been used in the past, you would be able to give us some recommendations about providers that you typically have those relationships with if you've had a good experience. If you don't, we have plenty of directories. Part of our business is own and operate a work comp network nationwide. So those are available to our staff to make recommendations based on location. You could be referred to a telemedicine call. It might be something that you've got, a handful of staff who are in sort of rural areas that maybe are not as easily accessible to local care. It could be after hours, and we have a 24/7 telemedicine service that they could be referred to. That's always an option for them, which we provide, and they can choose to take it or not. And if not, we can provide someone local. But where we really hope to get to in a lot of these cases is self-care first aid instructions. This is the added advantage of being able to walk them through what is appropriate for the type of injury that they've described, and hopefully avoid creating a work comp claim with a need for a lot of further care. Just to give you some statistics here, 66% of emergency room visits are really non-emergency. That kind of speaks to, the value and importance of having a call up front with someone that you could get detailed information and guidance from, that you have trust. And nurses really generate trust since it's an existing relationship that people are accustomed to, and nurses tend to spend more time. People are very comfortable in speaking with them and getting some guidance. You've got, $14 billion in annual costs of unnecessary emergency room ER visits. And we just mentioned that. Obviously, everybody knows the cost involved in escalating to that. In our program, we're triaging work-related injuries or illnesses. And we have, line of sight into both work comp and OSHA guidelines and how those may be impacted. A lot of this is important, as you're working through your business to have an understanding of these things. So that is something that's included in our guidelines. We just want to talk a little bit about the details around the team, technology, our care, and what's customizable. So our nurses are available 24/7. We do have bilingual Spanish-speaking nurses, and we also have a language line for other languages that may not be as common, but we do need to have access so that if someone calls, we can assist them. For technology, we do have hearing impaired relay, 24/7, as I mentioned, telemedicine service and access. We have our own proprietary triage platform. As I mentioned, we've been doing this for 17 years, and we track the calls. We also provide customer-specific reporting, integration with sometimes first notice of injury vendors, if you engage with those, claims management, managed care teams, the first notice of injury. For care, nationally recognized triage and proprietary guidelines. As I mentioned, we focus on work comp. A lot of these guidelines are different from what you would see in the typical healthcare space because there's an understanding that there may be additional details and more helpful information whenever it's a work comp specific injury. There's a clinical assessment that's completed at the onset of the call. The first person that is spoken to whenever contacting our line is the nurse, because they want to triage immediately. If you've got someone who really does need to go for emergency care, you want to make sure to gather the information, give them the recommendation, and get them on their way. As part of the conversation we have, we also record details with a care coordinator at the end of the call. The importance here is to take down some of the history of the event and make that available to clients. It's also very helpful whenever you're setting up information on an injury that may have occurred and something does need to be reported for a work comp claim to be set up. That's a value added tool as part of the process. There's the capability of an authorization to treat. If you decide that you would like to go ahead and give authorization to treat, meaning that you're providing them some upfront information that they, can go and get the pharmacy scripts that they need, or they can go for the visit to the provider, and you'd like to provide maybe a billing address so that the provider can take that information. It just eases the process of the visit. That's available. We do tetanus coordination, and we do allow follow-up for self-care. I mentioned that in some cases you may give someone guidance and you sort of say, okay, if at 3 days you're still, experiencing this clinical complication, then you may want to seek further treatment. And occasionally people will call back, or they may decide later that they need to go and treat because the issue isn't resolving. Customizable parameters and RxID cards. So if you're using any sort of resource for pharmacy and you'd like for that information to be included, we do have the ability to make sure the person is given reference to whatever Rx program you're utilizing. We again have preferred providers that we can position specific to you as an employer. And we also, if you don't have any that you prefer, we've got panels and listings of providers nationwide that we can refer to. We do monthly trending and outcome reports, and some customization with white label. If you should have a group of entities that you're working with that you'd like to collaborate on, that's another piece that we can support. So we've done several studies on performance with various clients that have used this over the years. In one case that we reviewed, in just 6 months, a client saw reductions in their medical-only claims, lower average costs per claim, and reduction in indemnity claims. And key point here, nearly half, so 3, 4, 5, out of 10 callers may opt for self-care. The satisfaction survey is another great indicator. 98% caller satisfaction rate, 98% service exceeding expectations, and 96% did contacting the nurse triage impact your final decision. That we love to see because we know that we've given them information that comforts them in the decision that they're making and helps give them guidance as to really what would be the right place of care for whatever incident has occurred. So appreciate you listening to this. It's a very straightforward program. We work with Dennis and team and work directly with many different employers who seek to set these programs up. It's a very simple setup process, and we help communicate to you the information that you would want to share with your employee group, and again, an 800 number that is common for them to be able to use. So please ask any questions that you may have. And Dennis, thanks for the opportunity to share more about the program.
Yeah, thanks, Monica. And again, this is recorded, will be on the website. There's a big membership. So I appreciate your time, and I appreciate the shortness. Because usually we're going for an hour, so it will be recorded. But I just, again, I cannot speak enough about nurse triage, because I just see what happens when you go to an emergency room. It's an automatic X-ray. It's a couple $1,000s, and your premiums are going to go up as a result of that. And then occupational health clinics, as well intended as they are, they always order physical therapy. And that adds up on top of an X-ray. So if we can keep them out of the doctor's office, there's not going to be a work comp claim, most likely. So again, I appreciate you doing that. If anyone has any questions about pricing and whatever, please reach out to me. The association has all my information, and be happy to talk offline about this. And thanks again, Monica and Jennifer, Rachel, everybody. I'll talk to you all soon.
You have a great new year. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
The hardest part is saying goodbye.